Right, you go wee-wees, Winnie. Come on. Come on. It is practically impossible to try and get her to ignore the builders as she walks by. Hello everyone and welcome back to this week's home reno video. This week has been a real challenge for all of us, hasn't it? Nothing has happened because the builders haven't been able to do any work for the last week. However, we have been very busy. Week 2, and we have discovered that it is not all smooth sailing. We have a few issues, so builders can't continue until they are resolved. We knew there was gonna obviously be issues at some point in the build. We just did not expect them to happen week 2. It has been like -3 degrees outside and snowstorms all week. The builders haven't been able to lay any of the concrete in the foundations because it's just too cold. So I actually mentioned this last week and we've just obviously had further progress on it. We have a public drain on our property. To be able to move that drain, we have to apply to Thames Water for a build over agreement. We've had to go back to the structural engineers to get new calculations done for the steels that are near the drain that we're going to be moving. Now we've got those, we're going to submit those to Thames Water so that they can approve the moving of the drain and that it's legally far away enough from the foundations of our property and our extension. As the build is currently halted, it is up to us to make the next step. So we need to apply for the Thames Water agreement. So I'm to send them proposed plans, existing drainage, which is, sorry, where's the existing drainage? Fine, okay.
So you just have to take a photo of that.
Okay.
That, you have that on an email.
Yeah.
Existing house plans,
yeah.
I sent you last night.
Yeah.
Proposed house plans is, you know what they are, which
yeah.
you mentioned. That was pencil sketch. But the detailed query, drainage is too close to this foundation, so he might need to look at changing this foundation to allow that. But he's the engineer, he should tell us.
Fine.
Send me the information, I'll get the ball rolling.
And I'll give him your number. Thanks, Steve.
Well done.
Thanks. That's been a real learning curve because I have absolutely no experience how to do that. I have never done this before. Freddie knows this kind of stuff because he works in the house building industry. However, I have never seen a person so busy at work as Freddie has been these last few weeks. So he hasn't been able to do any of it and it's been left to me, which has been chaos. But I've learned a lot. Now I know how to apply for a Thames Water build-over agreement, so hit me up if you ever need any help on that. Another thing we learned, obviously moving on from delays, is that things always cost more than you expect. Applying for the build-over agreement cost us money, the new drawings from the structural engineer cost us money, the lead pipe that feeds our water to our house from Thames Water Supply is completely outdated, and whilst we can do building work and not replace it, it's in our best interests if we replace it. We've been quoted up to £5,000 for that, so that's really nice. Everyone always says that it's going to be 20% more than you budget for, like the cost of your build, and I now believe that for sure. Surprises every single week. And speaking of surprises, this is actually a really good one. Builders found existing foundations here, which is great news because it means they hopefully don't need to dig these and fill them in themselves. However, we do need building control approval that they're solid enough to build on when we put the steels in up here. This just requires more work from our structural engineer, which unfortunately requires more cost. However, hopefully, if it's approved, it will save time and money with actually digging new foundations. In here, they've actually dug deep trenches to fill in the new concrete around here. It is way too cold right now to pour concrete, so that's not going to be happening anytime soon. Here she goes! So the past couple of days I've been doing something that has been super unhelpful for my own well-being. The weather has been horrendous, it's been snowing like major, and instead of getting out the house I've been staying in all day. I've been working downstairs, it's been absolutely freezing and I've just been in a mood, but obviously it just gets to you sometimes. We've had so many problems this week and today the builders aren't here because they literally can't do any more work until we get this legal approval. It's a day off today with just chilled, calm vibes in the house, but it's such a gorgeous day, so I've come outside anyway. And I'm outdoors having a walk, and I realise fresh air is just so important, and like moving my body, not sitting on the couch all day, absolutely freezing. Me and my little ginger piggy are having a little nice walk. We've now been at a standstill for the last 4 days. So whilst it's been about -5 outside, this is very drafty. So that is literally our back door. Our builders put a bolt on our utility room door, and now it's our back door. Okay, so we are making progress with that is a big drop, with this existing foundation. So Freddie got back in touch with our structural engineer, and they've said that if this measures 600 wide by 900 deep, then it's absolutely fine. We can just build on it, no bother, which is going to save so much time for the builders. It's going to create so much peace for us because we won't have to drill this out. So Freddie was just measuring the depth there, which is 900. Let's see what this width is, Fred.
55.
Oh dear.
No.
5 short. The structural engineer is going to do more different calculations for a slimmer foundation.
Yeah.
So this is us now being almost a week like this without any building works going on.
Bottled by members of Safety First Milk Association.
Does it have a year on it?
No.
So it's Valentine's weekend, and Freddie and I have decided we are going to have no house chat this weekend. So we just had a really nice day, took Winnie for a walk, and I went and picked up some sushi from our local Japanese food store, which is the best sushi in and around this area, and it's so well priced. And tomorrow we've done the M&S deal. It's just a weekend of like minimal food prep for us and minimum effort and just maximum enjoyment. So I've just poured myself a glass of Prosecco and I'm just about to get ready. And here we are already. So let's chat a little bit about planning a build and a few things that you need to do before you even put the first spade in the ground. There is so much organisation involved, and it doesn't have to be complicated, but you do have to be organised. So I'm going to run through the things that we did before the builders came on site 2 weeks ago. Number one, find your property. Obviously we did that 2 years ago, but find the property that you want to start the work on. Once you're in the property, figure out how much you can afford to spend on the build. You want to make sure that the cost of the house plus the amount you spend on the property is never greater than the anticipated value of the finished results, because then when you come to sell it, you might lose money. Obviously, if you're just doing it to live in it forever, then this isn't an issue, but ultimately we want to make money on this house. So we cannot spend more than what we anticipate our house will be worth as a 3-bed, 3-bathroom. Next up, you are going to source an architect, and this is a really crucial stage of a build because you have to communicate to your architect exactly what you want and the budget that you have. So there's no point in listing an architect before you know how much you can afford to spend, because architects like to get jazzy with their designs, and whilst it may sound and look amazing, if you can't afford it, then you can't afford it, so don't entertain that idea. I have learned that a lot. Set a brief with your architect and tell them exactly what you want. Think about, you know, your living needs and the functional space you want in the house, where you want to open up spaces, how many bedrooms you want to create, the design elements of it, everything. Be completely clear and transparent with them from the start and let them know exactly what you're expecting, because if you don't communicate it clearly enough, then the drawings that come back are going to be not what you want, and it's going to cost you money to get them redone, and it's going to delay things. So clear from the beginning. So once you have these plans agreed with your architect, now you have to do a series of things in no particular order, but this is what you can do next. Now you have your drawings. You need to go and apply for planning permission if your build means that you do need to apply for it. and that can take up to 13 weeks to get approval, and you have to pay a fee to the council for the application. This is something that your architect can do for you. Ours did it for us. It just depends what relationship you have with them or what services you've enlisted with your architect. If it's just the drawings, then you'll have to do this yourself. It's not an impossible task, it's just that our architect was happy to do it for us. Next up, if you are going to be removing any structural walls in your house, you're going to need to enlist in a structural engineer to do steel calculations to make sure that your house is safe and supported. And this is money well spent. You cannot scrimp on this. It has to be the correct calculations to make sure the house is sturdy. If it's not, when building inspection come and do the final survey of your house before signing off the build, it will fail it. So, and also it's dangerous, so very important. You need to find a builder. So I think we went to 6 builders with our plans and submitted them all, and they all came back with their own quote. They'll do a kind of general quote at the start because obviously it takes a very long time to put together a specific quote for your property. And once we'd narrowed it down, we kind of spoke very closely with 2 builders and went into more detail on the costs and exactly what they were going to do. And then ultimately we picked our builder, who was the best price for the work that was going to be agreed, and we just got a good vibe from him. Next up, if you have neighbours that are close by, connected or shared walls or anything, you're going to need a party wall agreement. So you can either do this the professional way, which costs money, or you can do it the free way, which is just talking to your neighbours and taking pictures and agreeing that, you know, if a brick goes through their window at the fault of your builders, then yes, of course, you will replace it. So it just depends what kind of relationship you have with your neighbours. If you do want to go the professional way or you're unsure about anything, then it would just be best to pay for a party surveyor to come round and take a look at the buildings, take pictures and write an official agreement so it's all legal. That's a few £100s. I think it was £500 we were gonna have to pay for that. If you are ever concerned, the best thing to do is actually just go pay the money and do the proper thing. Lastly, you're gonna need to alert building control that you are starting a build project. So you submit your plans to the building control website, which is obviously within your local area, and you have to pay a fee for this. And I think ours was £1,500. Prices do, however, vary on the scope of works you're having done. So if you're only doing a very small extension, it's not going to be expensive. If you're doing a lot of work, it's obviously going to be more money. This service is basically building control are on hand to come round and inspect at crucial stages in the build. So we've actually already had building control come around last week when we had our drain situation, and our builder called them up and they came over, had an inspection, said exactly what we need to do to make sure it was all done properly, which is the Thames Water Build Over Agreement, and they will come back and inspect that once that drain has been moved. It's the council making sure that you're doing everything correctly and at every step of the way, so that when they come to do their final inspection to sign off your build, it doesn't fail, because everyone's kind of been kept up to date as it's been going on. So yes, whilst it seems like a lot of money, it's a lot of work on their part coming to inspect and making sure it's done correctly. So when you're finished, building control will then give you a certificate signed off saying that your build is completely safe and approved and legal. Once you've submitted the notice to say you're going to start your works and they approve it and you pay the fee, it's then 5 days clearance before your build can begin. So just make sure that you're on track with that and your builder has a start date that fits in line with this. So once again, it's just so important to be organised and getting all these things done in advance so that there's no delays when the builders are ready to start. So that was everything we needed to do to get fully organised for our build to begin. Then obviously your builders will start and you'll find all these hidden surprises and all these delays and all these extras that were unavoidable, and that's just life. We're not too worried at the moment. They're starting again today and things are good to go. The scaffolding's going up in 2 days' time, which means that our loft extension is gonna start. The weather's getting warmer, which is lovely, so they can pour the concrete in the foundations, and hopefully our build over agreement will be approved ASAP and they can continue digging out the drains and moving them. I hope this video was helpful. I know it was more of a chatty one. There wasn't really much to share with the progress this week because there has been none on the kind of building side of it. However, I think it's so important to like share all this stuff as well, because I mean, I was not aware of any of this before we begun. So every day is a learning day here, that is for sure. Thanks so much for stopping by and watching another one of my home reno videos. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next week with another video.